ones how important they would be to a community. 5 days after a massive fire destroyed everything. This wasn't just a rebuild. This was destroying everything. We were back in business. And it reached national press. The AP did a story. Fox News did a story. The New York Times did a story on this little company that could and that we did. And as we recovered through that time, it was this, and my brother-in-law John and I were in a meeting this morning with our retail team in Grove City, and one of our colleagues was describing the pre-fire and post-fire, and she described it this way. Before the fire, we were a pretty close-knit group of people that worked together. But after the fire, we became a family. We became one. We knew we had each other's backs. We'd been through the trauma of 2009 together, and we knew that as we recovered from this fire, we had each other's backs. And as it relates to labor and management, I don't know, I might not ever be invited back by Bob to a labor management discussion because of what I'm about to say. But for me, there's no such thing as labor and management. It's we. If we're involved in the same company, we're in it together. There's no way in this economic environment, in my humble perspective, and again, what do I know? I'm president of a small company in Grove City, PA. This is just the way I feel and look at things. But I don't look at Chris as labor, and I hope he doesn't look at me as management. There's a passage in Scripture in 1 Corinthians 12, and in my Bible it's highlighted. The heading of it's called One Body in Many Parts. And that's really the way I see the way we're trying to work together at Wendell August. We're one body. We're one company. We're literally fighting against competitors that are all made overseas. Every one of our competitors in the metal giftware space is made in China or Mexico and India. No one is left in America. And I don't say that with great pride. I wish all of our competitors were still in America. But a great company on the other side of the state, Wilton Armitage, about 7 years ago, closed down their workshop. 250 American jobs lost overnight. And for us, we know that we're competing on a world stage. And to do that, we've got to be in it together. I look at Chris and his amazing talents, and I say, you know what? I am blessed to work with a guy with his talents. I don't have them. In fact, when I was in college and I was working in the summer at Wendell August, I started off in the workshop. And this is a true story. About 7 days after I started, a couple of my fellow craftsmen, I thought they were my fellow craftsmen, but a couple of the craftsmen went to our boss and said, this Will guy's a nice guy and all, but he's got no skill. Where else can he go? And that's true. I have absolutely none of the skill set that Chris Keck has. But you know what? I'm not called to have that skill set. He has much of the skill set I have. There's some things that I'm able to do that maybe aren't in his wheelhouse. But guess what? That's okay. To me, our titles are meaningless. It's important to me that he's a master craftsman. It says a lot. Master craftsman. In this day and age, it says a lot. But to me, whether it's master craftsman or president, we're shoulder to shoulder. His title is no bigger than mine. My title is no bigger than his. We march forward together. And that's the only way we're going to win. That's the only way, in my humble opinion, that we can take on Mexico, India, China, and, slave labor, or whatever it is they use, the wages they pay, and beat them. We're not going to beat them in salary or wages. We're going to beat them right here. And if we look at each other confrontationally, it's not going to work. But if we understand that as a company, we're in this battle together, that whether you're a salesperson, you're a master craftsman, you're a vice president of operations, you're the president, CFO, titles are meaningless. What is the skill that you have been given? What is the talent God has blessed you with? And every day, each and every day that we show up, it is my job to use those talents, use those gifts to the utmost of my ability. and to be as excellent as I can possibly be. And I would ask, when I'm not excellent, I'm a jerk a lot. When I'm not excellent, I hope guys like Chris nudge me, poke me, and say, Will, you're off base here. That's how we win. The Wendell August story is a unique one. And again, if anybody who knows me, 15 minutes is very difficult for me to speak for only 15 minutes. But I'm mindful of your time. The Wendell August story, it truly is miraculous. I mean, and again, I've lived it for these last 3.5 years since the fire, but I've lived it almost as one of those folks who are in a movie but are like watching the movie. And that's the way I've sensed this opportunity the Lord has given me, is to watch a providential God working through amazing people, the great people I work with, the great people at the Pittsburgh Penguins who came alongside us. I've got one story to tell you. And the great people of Western Pennsylvania. And we came together and we accomplished the miraculous. And in about 2 weeks, that chapter of our story closes, because I'm really excited to say that in 2 weeks we finally open our new flagship and workshop and distribution facility in Grove City, about 0.8 of a mile from the Grove City outlets, where folks will be able to tour again and see how the product is made and interact and see great things. So we're sort of, Madam President, at the end of one phase of our lives, and we're about to begin anew. But one story I want to tell you about Dave Soltesz. And we were fully expecting on Sunday or Monday to get a call from the Penguins to say, you know what, thanks, but we're going to look in another direction. The last game at the arena is too important to it. We can't risk it. Not only did they not say that, Dave called us and said this: how can we help you? What do you need from us? There's no way we're going to pull this order. In fact, would it be helpful to you if we paid the entire amount of the order up front? Are you kidding? And to close my portion of this, that doesn't happen everywhere. We are so blessed to be in this area, this region of the country, surrounded by great people like Bob Mill and Dave Soltesz and all of you. And I just can't tell you how thankful I am every day to be able to show up to work with guys like my colleague, who I'll invite up now, a true master craftsman, a colleague, but also a friend. Let me introduce to you Chris Keck.
Let me start off by saying how honored and excited I am to be chosen to do this. As you already know, Will and I, we've worked well together for several years now. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to repeat some of the things that he's already said, or else I would have nothing to talk about. My story might sound a little different than what his does, though. Before the fire, it felt like I was just working at another job like I had in the past. It was just go to work, go home. I had gained some relationships with some of my coworkers, but like I said, it was just another day at work when I was there. But after the fire, something happened. I was one of the guys that was worried about my family and my job. I thought that it was over. So, to a sense, it was the end. But at the same time, it was a new beginning. And we all rallied together, pulled together, and we said, you know what, we're going to do this. This is going to work. We had already had the news that we had received this Penguins order. But we knew we had a lot of work to do in order to fulfill this order, which we all were determined that this was going to happen. So some of the things that we had to do, while worrisome on whether we were going to be able to complete this, we had to assess all of the dyes that had gone through the fire. We were not sure on any of them or whether they were going to be good due to the heat that they had been through, and some of them were damaged and ruined. But fortunately, there was enough that we were able to save to where we were able to continue with business, as well as the Pittsburgh Penguins order. Fortunately, some of the unneeded equipment, I shouldn't really say it was unneeded, it was just that we didn't have room to put it in the old shop that we were functioning out of. It was still in the vacant building that we had worked out of prior to moving back to the building we were at when the fire occurred. The owner of that building had given us the opportunity to take the building back, and it worked out perfect because some of the machinery was still there, at least what we had left. It was still there, and we all huddled together, getting it back together to where it was functional. I still remember the day that we had that die cut, and we hammered the first ticket off of it. Hand hammered, actually, which they all didn't turn out to be hand hammered, but it certainly was something. It meant something to all of us. Luckily there was other community members who was willing to help us as well. There was a Slovak store out towards the factory outlets that had gotten together with Will and gave him the opportunity for us to go out there and work with them and have that be our temporary flagship store. Just the community in general was a huge help. I think every day we were there working to get things back together. Some business from somewhere brought us lunch every day. I mean, it was amazing. I've lived in Grove City my whole life, but I didn't know, what we had, And it's not just that, what had happened, but I also say that was because Grove City knows what kind of family the ownership of Wendell August Forge is. They're a great family. I enjoy working with Will. I wouldn't have it any other way. It just seems like over the last 3.5 years, we've become family. And there's a lot of new faces around. Before the fire, we had, actually I was the lowest guy, and I was number 14. So we had 14 craftsmen in the shop at the time, and now I think we have around 36 because of the hard work that everyone has contributed to the business, and it's grown. I think, talking with Will the other day, even beyond his wildest imaginations, in 2009, no one ever imagined to happen what we're going through today. We're very excited. It's kind of like it's not a tragedy this time, but we are still all working together to prepare for the move. 3.5 years later, we're gonna be working out of our new facility, which is beautiful. October 29th, you all will have to come and see. But once again, I just want to say how excited I am and looking forward to continuing working with this great family. And with that being said, I would like to introduce Dave Soltes.
Excuse my voice, a little raspy today. And thank you, Chris. Great story. I'd like to acknowledge Bob Bell, his work in fostering a positive labor environment between labor and management. I think the commitment that he's made to the community college here is tremendous, and it's long overdue. So, Bob, thank you for everything that you do. The other thing I want to tell you on a personal note, I still have 4 grandkids in St. Killian's, and when we get the Stanley Cup this year, it's obviously going back to St. Killian's, so you can start prepping your grandkids and everyone else for it. starting to prepare for this discussion, trying to get a little bit of history. So I went to the website to see if I could pull out a paragraph that kind of, encapsulated what this was about. And excuse me while I read it to you. It says, a labor management discussion embodies a series of interactive sessions designed to foster a sustained dialogue on economic development issues facing the region by bringing together members of labor and management to share the perspectives and expertise. That's a powerful statement. But something's missing. And I'm sitting here thinking, something's missing. What's missing here? Okay? And I think that's what I bring here today. What's missing is the end user, is the customer. Sometimes when we talk labor and management, we kind of deal in a vacuum. And we understand what our issues are, collective issues, but whatever we are, understand labor and management is in a fishbowl, okay? And your customers or your end users look at you and say, do I want to do business with that company? You know, the way they act or their corporate responsibility or those type of things. So I go back and I thought it'd be kind of interesting to tell you, the genesis of what we look for in a partner, okay? And then go back and tell you, how Wendell August Forge kind of fit that bill. We want a partner that has a degree of creativity. It's really important, If you know anything about the Penguins organization, we want to be the first at what we do and the best at what we do, That's from David Morehouse, Ron Burkle, Mario on down. That's our charge. We're looking for unique product and services. We don't want to be a me too. So what can we put out there? What can we do? Wendell August Forge. No one was doing what we were doing. Sales support. I need somebody that's a great communicator. In our case, we had a sales guy by the name of Christian Warner, unbelievable communicator. And guess what? Everyone in Wendell August Forge that we dealt with, I knew them by name, and he identified them by name, whether it be Chris or Aaron, whoever it was. So the organization started to take a personality for me as a customer. It's important to see if the people in the organization, is that labor relationship, is it a strife labor relationship? Last thing I need to do is do a promotion, and all of a sudden there's some labor difficulty. Pride. Does this organization take pride in what they do? Can you sense that pride? You just don't ask the question. It's in conversations. Is it American made? And then the most important thing that we lose sight of day to day is that the reason we buy a hat from overseas is price. Price is not what we're looking for. We're looking for value. And if you get into a price and value discussion, you understand what I mean. So the value of a relationship or a product from Wendell August Forge, a product can be 50 cents cheaper from overseas, but the value of having that product from this company made the way it is, gives us the value that we're looking for. And then the last thing when I start to look at these programs is I said, would I recommend this to my friends? Is this a strong enough idea or program that I would step up and say, hey, you need to look at that? So let's go back and just talk a little bit about that. I have some visual aids here. So this is unbelievable what happened. So I started to look, this is the ornament. This is what, the whole conversation is about. This is what Wendell August Forge put together. Understand that the task we gave them when we placed the order on March 4th was not a reasonable ask, okay? In 4 weeks, they had to have this product ready to ship to us, okay? I had a former boss, and I had a problem about 3 years ago when I was on the business side, and a promotion was running late. He said to me, Dave, in the history of this organization, we've never missed a promotion, okay? So was I a little bit worried? Yeah, a little bit. Not much. So here's the crazy part. Call it karma, call it whatever you want. So when I went home and I pulled this piece out because I wanted to bring it. Okay. So if you're not familiar with Wendell August, almost every piece is unique. It's the hammered edge. Okay. And each of the craftsmen has his own symbol that they actually punch on the back of this. Randomly, I went home, got this out of the cupboard, pulled it out, and guess who the craftsman was that hammered this piece? It gets even crazier, and this goes to the creativity of it. When I couldn't find one in the office, that's why I went home and got it. But I had some copper ones that we had made. Okay, so I grabbed a copper one out of the cupboard, you know, and I'm looking at it. Guess who hammered that one? Chris. I think he was the only one hammering it that day. So but understand that you know, we start to talk about things that you look in organizations. You know, this isn't just a hammered piece, you know, that they presented to us. There was a second part to this. Here's what they offered to do. Okay, you're a season ticket holder. It's your last game at Mellon Arena. If you went to the Forge in Grove City, they would literally hand hammer your ticket number in here. Okay, so it's that creativity, it's that extra step, it's that uniqueness, it's that value. You know, this is probably one of the strongest dollars we invested in a promotion. Okay, 25,000 units. They didn't stop there with that promotion. They came back and said, hey, Dave, here's an idea for you. You know, we know you spent a lot of money. Maybe here's a way you can recoup some of it. So we started to hammer, I think, 1,000. I'll tell you in a minute. Yes, we hammered 1,000 of copper for sale. We sold these for $149. Okay, so the Penguins organization was able to recoup some of their investment. Uniqueness about it: each is hammered by a craftsman. Each has one of 1,000, two of 1,000 on the back. So it wasn't just, you know, here's a product, go sell it, thank you for your order. It was, they tried to understand our business and how to help us in our business. Sales support. Again, it was an unreasonable offer to ask. I mean, you have to understand, to do what they do for 25,000 pieces in a 4-week period,